Hello and welcome to my Mystery Rehash YouTube channel. Today I'm aiming to make a case for an action, adventure, and comedy moving picture called The Lost City. In this movie, Sandra Bullock finds somebody unaccustomed play the fool to her performing artist character as she goes from author to adventurer. Before beginning our video, if you didn't subscribe to my YouTube channel, give it a hit and press the bell icon to get updated with my channel. So, let's begin our mystery rehash video. 5 years ago, Loretta lost her husband John, and since then, she has barely left the house. Never mind golf shot that abundant effort into her latest romance journey novel, The Lost City of D. This can be to the ire of her publisher Letter, who has heavily invested within her and needs her to churn out additional things. But at this point, Loretta is done. She solely started putting this on Ink franchise as a result of the particular info concerning lost cities and her historical interest couldn't sell. Therefore, while not the love of her life, what will she need to embellish? Well, sadly for her, Abigail Fairfax, the primary son of a media mogul, has the money associate to greed interest to fund an expedition into a story Loretta on the face of it stumbled into. One is a couple of Ruby Crown lost somewhere on an island within the Atlantic. He kidnaps Loretta to force her to assist him, therefore leading Beth, Loretta Cal model Alan, and Alan friend John Trainer to move to a distant island to rescue her from Abigail clutches. Loretta Sage, Sandra Bullock is troubled to end the most recent her series of Foul Journey novels. She conjointly envisions herself because the Lost City writers and administrators Aaron and Adam Heritable, the serving as their sophomore feature following the contemporary Tom Sawyer / Huckleberry Finn reimagining band of robbers that's Price seeking out shortly depict during a visually artistic sequence wherever characters and objects seem and disappear off the screen as Loretta varieties and deletes. One amongst those characters happens to be her hunky friend Dash, Channing Tatum, rocking a ridiculous Fabio hairpiece, who appears to be the important attraction of the stories these days given Loretta waning effort. Doubly so, considering that Dash exists in world as Adam, a model that lucked into serving as a canopy boy for the books and subsequent media tours, usually ending up hounded by thirsty fans. Soon, it created clear that Loretta's husband died recently, explaining her lack of enthusiasm for writing consecutive novel, all the thanks to the purpose of associate degree ending wherever the characters hand over on checking out a lost treasure mid-quest. Following some fatal promotional material where Alan fails to create a positive impression on Loretta, she is usual, and he, smart intentions be damned, is all muscle and no brains, the latter finds herself walking into a kidnapping. The goons bring Loretta to Fairfax, a nefarious Daniel Radcliffe, who appears to be making associate degree attempt at performance mixing crazy and quirkiness. Near extremely comes across as an antagonist Price caring about. A son of a have jealous that the Empire is being two-handed to his younger brother on a silver platter, that believes there's some truth to the clues and treasure documented within the latest novel. This can be as a result of Loretta and her husband conjointly want to rewrite ancient languages and study such myths. As such, Alan sees a chance to prove himself and build a rescue. The sole drawback is that he's not a fighter, either. This leads to the dim-witted secret admirer acquiring an ex-military extractor content by Brad Pitt during an anaglyph role that's simply the motion picture highlight. There's undoubtedly one thing amusing regarding looking at the muscular Channing Tatum be useless, perpetually going in the means of this trained and hardened however dorky bearded soldier as he dispatches of henchmen. Likewise, there's many energy and quizzical humor to the Lost City's initial act. However, the movie hits a brick wall. Hit that brick wall hard. Admittedly, it's nice that the Lost City is aware that it's not a very distinctive or original journey and instead focuses on the mismatched central duo. However, that facet is additionally principally generic and formulaic, with Loretta realizing that there's additional to Alan than his physical stature which he will place his mind to good use in someone and capable ways. It also doesn't facilitate that Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum don't generate abundant chemistry. They primarily play variations of an equivalent character they continually play, solely while not ever clicking into a rhythm and bouncing off each other to allow the dialogue some spark. Whenever they aren't on screen, a genuinely useless subplot follows Lord, a manager alphabetic character, Divine Joy Randolph, on a listless rescue endeavor of her own, functioning thus far another black supporting friend character in movies with nothing to try to do besides seek for the hero in danger. It's pleasant that Alan doesn't take over because of the hero. There are late jokes suggesting that Alan is the damsel in distress here. That is fitting since the movie's funniest jokes are informal and riffing on gender dynamics. Again, there are additionally nothing tense or perhaps eventful concerning the treasure and its mysteries. Fairfax's goons also mention, however, the rummage around for this titular lost town of D is disrespectful to his heritage, only to try to do nothing therewith plot thread even once the story makes its thanks to an encompassing town. The story is just involved with Loretta and Alan growing to love each other in a boring fashion and with compliments that go nowhere. He tells her to not minimize her writing by career schlock. That is interesting, except the script, courtesy of 4 writers, together with the directors, from a story by Seth Gordon seldom explores the correlation between authorship associated in nursing adventure. Going back there to initial scene of a dynamical setting world as a creator writes that wherever the imagination is. Aaron and Adam Heritable don't have the boldness to make a story around their one ingenious idea, subsiding for an assortment of romantic comedy cliches set within a dull treasure hunt. The Lost City also essentially falls into a pit of syrup once its exciting anaglyph exits the story, sinking and sinking until one drowns altogether the surplus tropes. Thus affirmative, The Lost City could also be sport by untawdriness and glamour, and yes, it's cheap and predictable. However, you recognize what? Typically, the globe desires a bit cheese and predictability. Typically, a coldish, sensible time, wherever the stakes are middling at best, is simply what the doctor ordered. Let's explore its ending and box office collection. So, the Lost City film makes $31 million in its initial 3 days. The Lost City has broken records because the most remunerative box office gap for a female-led feature since the beginning of the pandemic. The romantic journey comedy has been delineated as Romancing the Stone meets Raiders of the Lost Ark. However, it far more closely resembles the former, with Sandra Bullock taking part in a piteous romance writer who finds herself at the middle of an inquiry for lost treasure within the heart of the jungle. Its ending looks fairly self-explanatory, particularly for a motion picture of its genre. It's then unexpectedly followed by a ridiculous mid-credits scene that may be one amongst the simplest elements of the movie, not least of all as a result of it sees the return of its best character, the stainless Jack Trainer, Brad Pitt. Despite the actual fact that each ending seemed to defy analysis, albeit for immensely totally different reasons, a time to explore each.